Okay, and this is part two of the video that I'm doing for the JME Journal of Military Experience Volume 2 book. Um, I told you in the last video that the next story I was going to talk about was The Great Military Adventure by Dustin T. Jones. Um, Basically, this went through a whole series of things when they were going through town, and it was about this. He come up on this little motionless uh, child. He had a pink backpack on his back or off to the side. He wasn't moving. He wasn't there, and the soldier just stared at him, and he kept expecting him to move or something, and it didn't happen. It was hard for me to do this piece because, and I can only imagine what the soldier went through having this in his, having to see this himself personally, and I'm just visualizing and trying to capture what he was relaying in the story. Uh, this is the piece that I ultimately wound up doing for it. As you can see, it's got. I decided just to show the feet of the soldier in question, and it shows a little boy with his backpack laying next to him who had been killed in the crossfire. That piece was hard for me to do. Uh, I mean, I know war is a horrible thing, but I can't imagine what our troops have to deal with on a daily basis when I even have just a problem trying to draw something like that. So, that being said, the next piece, a little lighter. This was a thing that was a story that was very short that was put out by Erin Byers. She's a sergeant in the U.S. Army, and it's called Dear America. Well, this piece was basically asking for the American people to respect her and all of our troops and remember them for their sacrifices and what they're doing, and for the things that they do over in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I decided to incorporate in this piece, and this is a larger one than a lot of them, but I've got the American flag behind this, Statue of Liberty, female soldier, and then it's showing the little Afghanistan, Iraqi children, whichever you want them to be, in the picture, and how they've done a lot more good than has been said about our troops. That was a really good piece. I mean, and if you look here, I've got a close up of a little girl standing up here in the background. But that was a good piece to draw. It took me a while to come up with the design and the layout. I'm not a professional videographer and stuff like that, so so I'm trying to get this done as best I can for you guys. The next story is by Joe Parrish, and it's titled "Witch Hunts of the Military." And basically, this was about the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," and how that it was really frowned upon if you were gay in the military. That you just don't say anything, and they would go out of their way to try to catch, so to speak, people that were that way. And so I am not very political, and so I try to stay out of politics on everything. I mean, I'm political, but I try to keep politics out of my art to a degree. So I found it a little difficult to do this piece. So I figured the best way to do it would be to do a soldier like this with the American flag on one side and the gay and lesbian flag on the other side. And then you have to forgive this, but it says "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" on this card, split down the middle, and then "I survived, don't ask, don't tell." And she's got one side of her face taped, her mouth, on this piece here for the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," and then that's her later. Now, the soldier that wrote the story was not gay. but she was accused of being that way, and she was really put through the ringer on a lot of stuff. And so that's really about what her story was about. And that's the piece I did for it. As I said, some of these pieces are harder than others to do. Um, the next piece is rather dark and was also hard for me to do. And it's titled Nec Mitas de Morte. And it was by Matthew Rollins. And basically, it talks about how these guys went through and recovered the bodies of injured soldiers, or remember Afghanistanis or Iraqis that were needed to be checked over, and that was their job. They went out and they collected the bodies, and so the piece I did for that one is here. As you can see, it's got the soldiers zipping up a body in a body bag. Not a pretty job, but they have to do it. So that's the piece that I did for that. And like I said, I had to wait a little bit to come across on that. The other one that I did, and this one was kind of inspiring as well and kind of sad. But it says, the title of the story is "I Don't Want to Be a Soldier Today," and it was by Captain Sean Taylor. Mr. Taylor, member of the Iowa Army National Guard. The story goes on to talk about some stuff and why he didn't want to be. I don't want to give too much away in the stories in the video, so that's why I'm limiting what I'm talking about. But he just really did not want to be a soldier that day. So the piece that I did is I've got a picture here, and it shows him looking in a mirror. He's crushed a mirror up here, and he's in civilian clothes here, but he's in his Army uniform over here. And he's just reflecting back on how he doesn't want to be a soldier today. So I thought that was a good way to get the emotion out of what he was trying to say. The next piece is Singing the Draft Board Blues. And this is by Stephen Owen. And this was the last, I just finished this one. And this was the last drawing I did. I've got more drawings to show you, but I just finished this one today. And basically it talks about how he went through the draft and everything he went in. And then he wound up joining the military anyway. But he didn't want to be in there. He, like a lot of the people, didn't want to go to Vietnam, didn't want to be involved in the draft. And they had the draft card. So the piece that I did for this one is basically I have a group of men getting on a bus, getting ready to go out. And then I've got a drawing of the draft card down here at the bottom, and it says draft. And so basically that's what I got. And you've got all different types. You got your cowboy looking guy, you got your tough guy, you've got your hippie looking fellow here, and then your more of the nerdy type individuals. I mean, so they went after everybody, not just one select group of people. So I thought that was pretty good for that piece. And that's what we got going there. All right. And the next story is The Demons of War Are Persistent. And this was done by a Vietnam veteran named Arthur Shade. Arthur and I have become friends, and he's an amazing man, and I really, really enjoyed. He actually sent me some photos of him while he was in Vietnam and stuff like that. And now I don't have his original piece because I donated that to the Heritage Auctions to bring awareness to, which is based in Pittsburgh, to bring awareness to what we're trying to do, and JME. But this is the piece I did for him. This is a copy of it that I printed out, and that's art up there right here, highly decorated. He was a Marine, and this is him when he was from one of his stories when he was helping a child that was injured, and then got a wounded soldier back here, and how the unit came together to help him. And that's called it's based on his book, The Demons of War Are Persistent. So that's the piece I did for that. Art's a great guy. I was really hoping he'd be at the art symposium, but unfortunately, don't look like he's going to be able to make it. Now, I'm not sure whether this piece is going to be in the book or not. I think Travis decided he wasn't going to use this story, but I'm going to show you anyway because I did the artwork for it. It's called An Excellent Avenger by W.D. Earhart. Mr. Earhart is a poet. He writes poetry. He's anti-war. He's against any type of war. He's earned that right to be, he was a Vietnam veteran. But the piece I did of him, which was actually I did two pieces. This was him and his best friend that was in the military with him when they were young. And then this is them digging a hole, a trench, and he's sitting over there watching them, and they're working their backsides off. And then the next piece was after, I think he said 35 years. This is what they look like today. They reunited with one another. And he went and visited and back in Vietnam, and that's where they met. And they grew old, and they still do what they do. But it was nice that they were able to reunite again. All right, now, okay, well, that's about another 15 minutes, so I'm going to have to pause and take a moment and do the next part. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Thank you.